Just Steve is fine.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Hey guys. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. We don't have audio on the stream.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Oops.
Hey, Computer Clan's on.
Where are you streaming to? YouTube or?
Well, we have sound from what I can hear.
Are you streaming to YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, someone said they hear everyone, so.
Yeah, I hear everything fine.
Yes. You're loud, but you're there.
So, okay, so yeah, we have the sound back up. First off, welcome in the chat, Crazy Ken from the Computer Clan. Hi, Ken.
No, it's clipping pretty good right now. Yeah. It's good. I mean, you got enough audio. It's not low.
I still don't hear you on YouTube though, Greg. I still don't hear you on the stream.
Okay, yeah. GT, you're not on the stream.
That's
Which
why
is
I moved.
okay.
That's
We
why I
don't
moved to
need
OBS
to
from
hear
Wirecast.
It'll be fun.
Wirecast is always a nightmare with the audio. Always a nightmare. I haven't. But it seems to reset to some extent and mess everything up.
Gotta
We'll see in a
wait for it.
second.
Now it should be working fine.
No.
Yeah, it should be working fine now. I see myself talking now. I see the equalizer moving.
Okay,
Yep,
now
I
I hear
got you on the stream.
Yeah, we
Okay.
got you.
All right,
All right.
so let me go back to what we were talking about here since nobody was hearing me. We want to welcome our guests tonight, Steve and Michael Manna. So welcome, guys, tonight.
Thanks for having us.
We have some, they're pretty much, I wouldn't say, we're all not even real experts on Apple stuff, but they do bring some good insight to our Apple talks and stuff.
Oh,
One of the things, reason why we're using Skype again is because group FaceTime is still having some issues, and we had some problems getting it working. And at the last minute, we switched over to this, which involved me with my audio problems and everything. I usually have all this set up, but didn't have a chance to get that all set up at the last second there. So we are going to be winging it pretty much today. Now, talking about the group FaceTime stuff, we did test it out earlier today. Myself, Jay, Mike was in there, and Greg H was in there. So we all tested it. It does work, okay? However, trying to get Michael Manna in today was a real pain. So I don't know what's causing that, but that's the reason why we decided we'll switch to Skype real quick and fix it out. Any of you guys got a comment on the bug?
Well, I installed the update as soon as it came out today.
Same
And
here.
I noticed right away that I can no longer rotate my phone without FaceTime messing up. So that's a pretty
It's a
big
feature.
oversight. Yeah. Yeah. Innovation.
You're using it wrong.
Apart
Yeah,
from
there
that,
you
the
go.
only other issue I saw is when we tried to dial in Michael and it didn't work. But apart from that, the way, like the banner says, the way they handled it, you're not telling me with your amount of resources that you need 2 weeks to fix it. I have a hard time believing that. But
I guess they want to be thorough, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give them this. They did get it taken care of pretty quick. But, however, as an Appleseed beta tester on the 12.2 that I'm beta testing right now, guess what? Group FaceTime is not working on it. So I'm using a version that's actually higher than what you guys are using, and it's not working on it. So that's another problem too, is all the beta testers can't actually even beta test this stuff.
Yeah, that's happened a lot in betas in the past when I used to test betas. It just happens.
Yeah, but Apple didn't really work all that quickly on this fix because someone reported to them via Twitter over a week or 10 days before this even went public. So they were probably working on it, and they were hoping to slide it in some kind of bug fix update before anybody noticed. That's the story I broke down reading between the lines.
Well, yeah, I agree with Michael on that, because they didn't actually shut down the FaceTime server until, guess what? It broke in the main news and everything, and everybody was actually having issues with it,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because they claim to be the privacy company, the one that not your Touch ID, your Face ID, all these other things that are supposedly just encrypted to the hardware. You now see there's been time and time again with each and every kind of major update, there's been some kind of security flaw, whether it's you can bypass by saying you want to make an emergency call to see someone's iPhotos, the iCloud hack, which is still going on. I don't know why celebrities are updating, uploading dick pics and all this stuff and stupid shit like that. I mean, why are you? Am I allowed to say that? But why they keep doing it when there's clearly an iCloud hack like every month?
Exactly.
Dropbox isn't that much more expensive. Just a little tip out there for anybody listening.
Well, I think with the iCloud thing, a lot of those people.
that?
I think with the iCloud thing, a lot of those people have not set up two-factor authentication. If they did that, they probably wouldn't be having those problems.
Well, you want to be more accurate. Their assistants haven't set up.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, their assistants are probably just as dumb as some of the celebrities out there are. So come on now, they're not the most brainiac people out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna just chalk this up to this time or before this time, or maybe it's happened before and nobody's known about it. Like we just said, maybe they just tried to. How many bug fixes have been thrown out there from Apple on a point release where it could have been something even worse than FaceTime? It could have been the iCloud leak and everybody's stuff got leaked, and they ended up kind of fixing it on the down low.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't put that past Apple. I mean, as much stuff as they've done recently, for instance, I'm going to put a little enhancement thing in my beta test program to keep it from bouncing around the damn FaceTime, because that's annoying. They need to make it where I can fix, people's faces where I want to, especially on the Mac. On the phone I could probably see that, but on the Mac, there's more room for me to see stuff. So why do I only limit it to 4 faces on the Mac versus the iPhone?
It's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously, and I think wasn't Group FaceTime one of those features where it didn't launch with iOS 12, right? It launched a bit after. Yeah,
12.1 was when it actually came out.
I mean, they've been doing this for like iMessages in the cloud. Like they keep missing these dates they set for themselves, and like I don't really mind. Like give it to me when it's done, but I just maybe I'm just noticing it more now. But it seems like it's sort of like a recurring trend with them.
Well, let's talk about one thing that they talked about back in 2017, AirPower. Guess what happened to that? It's vaporware now, because you're never going to see it, because they silently pulled the stuff off their websites because I guess they tried to play it up, and people were waiting to get this item, and guess what? They couldn't produce it or make it, so guess what? It no longer exists. And did we just lose Grudy?
Here he comes.
There he
There he
comes.
is.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to plug my iMac into the wall, and the Wi-Fi kept dropping out.
Oops.
But anyways, I mean, that's just some of the things Apple's done just recently. I mean, you got to remember the Steve Jobs thing with the iPhone 4. You're holding it wrong, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it's the same thing with this bug. And like Mike said, you know, is that they knew about it probably about a month ago, and they didn't do anything about it. Tried to keep it quiet, and was going to probably quietly come out with a fix, and they didn't do it in time before somebody got a hold of it and was able to reproduce it, you know, all the time, and it got pushed out there. In fact, it's funny because Rocky and I were talking on group FaceTime that night when they cut the servers off, and they cut it off before. I mean, we'd already hung up, but they cut it off just after we hung up. So
Yeah. Because we were going to get back on and discuss something else, and we couldn't.
And surprise, nope.
yeah.
Let's break that down though, because the way the infrastructure of FaceTime works, it's kind of odd how it's such a proprietary Apple server that they're all being routed through.
Yeah, it reminds me of when they first introduced it. They were, I think they vaguely said it was like, oh, we want to open this up. It's great. We want other people to use it. And people took that as, oh, it's going to be on, you know, an Android phone or a Windows PC or something like that. And we've only just gotten FaceTime on the Mac. Like, I think it was like a year and a half after it was on the phone. And it's like, you know, yeah, open it up. I mean, it's all like standard video codecs and stuff like that. But now with Apple being so security focused, I wonder if, you know, they would actually allow it on other platforms. Probably not, because they want to say, oh, buy an iPhone and do this. But honestly, I would love if I could use FaceTime or group FaceTime on, you know, a different device, because I don't always have a newer Mac. You know, I'm using my office laptop here.
Oh, yeah.
This is the only one that could run the software on it. So
Yeah, even if they had to charge for another platform, I mean, people would do it.
Okay. Yeah. What, $5, $10, whatever one.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about conspiracy theory real quick about this. Jay, you listening?
Jay is currently helping his wife unload.
He's listening. He's muted. All right. So here's the deal with this. Obviously, I'm, you know, Touch ID already is something that not so quite sure about it with biometrics if they really are keeping it on the device and keeping it encrypted. Face ID and any kind of face technology or facial scanning already terrifies me, just because, well, if you posted to Instagram, if you've done any Snapchat stuff, if you've done any Facebook stuff, it's already in some sort of database. So that 10-year challenge, I'm convinced, was a facial recognition update on the download too. So, you know I'm coming in hard with you on this, Steve. You just met me, but, you know, I don't believe what I'm told by the government. So here's my whole thing with FaceTime that I thought about when Face ID came out. It's incredibly accurate. It works really well out of the gate. I'm wondering if these FaceTime servers were actually somehow building a database of facial recognition so they can test the facial recognition software. So when Face ID finally comes out, you're talking about a second, man. It's pretty impressive for something like that to just hold it up. And then you got landscape and portrait on new iPads. It's just, you have servers for FaceTime. You got to route stuff, and the data has to come through. Why not keep it and use it for your own? I'm not saying they're using it for spying or surveillance. They're using it to better their products.
Yeah,
So we hope.
possibility.
I wouldn't be surprised in the vague language of their service agreement if there's something there, but
You mean their 56-page EULA?
Conspiracy theory.
The one that nobody ever reads when they click through.
exactly that one.
No, Scott, what's his name? What's the older guy that used to do like the iPhone podcast all the time in the early days with Twit? Scott, whatever. You remember that guy? He was an old photographer guy, but he actually read it on one episode, and it's you know what? It's downright. It's right up there with like Patriot Act type stuff.
That reminds me of the Microsoft EULA for, I think it was for Windows or for Paint or something, where I think the EULA said basically anything you create in MS Paint, like we can legally own and such like that. And they changed it, but it was just like probably a cut and paste job by somebody. But there were all these jokes of like, oh, what do you made this beautiful piece of artwork in paint and you want to own that? Okay,
Hey, Instagram owns all the pictures. Facebook owns all your pictures.
Yep.
Yeah, you think you own your stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Until you ask him to take it down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on a little bit here. Just a quick update. I think who knows Jack the best about his Lisa update, so they can give us a quick update on.
Well, yeah, Jack and his Lisa. He did a post on it in Lim, I think the day after last week when we were streaming. His Lisa, remember, it wasn't booting up. He found this guy. Well, this guy found him, who had like 20 of them in his attic, and he knew exactly what was wrong with it. It was this one capacitor above the CPU, which was for resetting the system when you press the power button. If you remove that capacitor and hit the reset button on the back of it, it will start up. And he's got it fully functional now, except the screen's flickering a little bit, and it's not totally stable, but he's working on it. It should be a nice restore job, and we should probably have him back when he gets that thing going. So.
Cool find, though. I mean.
Oh, it was
yeah.
a great find.
So that's the update on the Lisa there, and we'll go ahead and link Jack's. I think he's got a YouTube channel or maybe a
He
Facebook.
does. He has both.
We'll put another link to his channel on here, and you guys can go check it out at the end there. Next up, Michael Manna. Has he made a decision? So the floor is yours right now, Michael.
Oh, I didn't know that was being brought up again.
I think Jay wrote that one, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, not that it matters at this point, but I did order a piece of equipment that I'm going to start using for the Conspiracy Horseman podcast, some of the other ones I'm on, and also starting up my own thing, which I've been trying to do. The Rodecaster Pro, if you guys have ever seen that mixer that just came out, it's a huge mixer. It takes Bluetooth phone calls, wired phone calls, has 8 pads, has AFX processing on each of the 4 inputs. It's coming Monday. So I'm going to do that,
Nice.
just because it has the noise gate, the ESSER, I can do a little bit. I don't have to buy a DBX and all sorts of stuff and piece it together. But also taking the phone calls is huge, especially in situations like this where it's like you got one more option to get in touch with somebody. At least grab some audio. Plus, it's a standalone device that has a micro SD card, so I only have to plug it in the computer. I can record out of my home gym if I want, set up the camera, sync everything up. It's pretty cool. That being said, it works off USB-C. It does come with the adapter for USB-A, but I'm thinking I better sooner rather than later upgrade and use up one of the USB-C ports on whatever I get. But I still need to have USB-As, so I'm still leaning towards possibly the latest I'll go is a 2017 iMac, obviously, so I can get the 2 USB-Cs, I get 4 USB-As, I still get the SD card slot. Because when you price out a Mac Mini, a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, whatever it is, when you get the OWC Thunderbolt dock or you get all these other things to daisy chain, you're talking about $2,000 right there or more.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I need a bigger screen to run stuff. So let me know what you guys think about this, because I'm leaning towards the 2015 MacBook Pro as my second anyway, just to have the legacy and the upgradability and everything. This is where reading the reports of, 2017 iMacs, I'm almost leaning towards an i5 because of the fan noise, the thermal throttling, which doesn't give me a whole lot of benefit on a lot of things. I could use the hyper threading on Final Cut, but if the fan's going to kick up and all this other stuff's going to happen and I'm recording something, it's going to really bleed through. Right. Plus the fact that it may be the last Mac with accessible RAM. It may be the last Mac where I can upgrade a Fusion drive and even the Blade drive, the Blade SSD on it. And this one is a 2014 that's still running strong. So I have to think as time goes on that their quality control is going to get even worse with what I see with the MacBook Airs, the MacBook Pros over the past 2 years and a lot of different things. I'm even afraid they might change the iMac keyboard that comes with it to the butterfly keyboard, so that's not going to have essentially the same problems. You see where I'm at? I guess I thought about all these scenarios where I could use a laptop and take it out there and podcast or do videos, but the Rodecaster Pro solves that because now I can have one stationary video editing station and all that stuff, and I don't travel a whole lot, so the iPad would be more than enough for me to do some work on the road. It's a hard decision because you're still talking about, with the sale right now, $2,099 computer, and then I have to pay some tax probably at Best Buy or some places for something that's essentially 2 to 3 years old of technology just to gain 2 USB-C ports, and I'm only going to use one of them essentially. Do you see how it's tough? Like I get to that edge where I'm like, yeah, it's the iMac. It's got to be a 5K screen, all this stuff built in, and I'm like, it's at least 2 generation processors behind. It's got some issues of its own, and I'm really going to pay Apple the same exact price for something that may come out 4 months from now that's going to drop this price hopefully down to like $1,500 if I wait. They make it hard every year because their products, their product line price wise and feature wise is so muddied and it crosses lines. Like I said, if I buy something that's $1,000 less, I'm gonna have to spend $800 just to bring it up to the specs on the ports and everything on an iMac, or getting a screen or doing this and that. And you know, it's just a tough thing. And I'm sure people in the chat room, you guys, even though you kind of like are more into what I'm into now with the more vintage stuff, it's just a tough decision moving forward to buy any Apple product because they just don't make it easy. I mean, does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think it's really turned into like a luxury brand type thing, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, but you still have that option of getting a 5.1 Pro and just buying 2 of these right here and sticking those in that.
One's going to be able to do that. nor should they have to get a decent computer at a decent price.
Yeah, true.
Well, I still talk about it. I guess I'm spoiled by the iMac. I'm spoiled by the all-in-one. I'm spoiled by, even though I can do well with a 4K screen for photo and video editing, I'm really spoiled by the fact that it really is an all-in-one. But if I need to get it open to replace the drive, put an SSD in it, it's possible. It's not Mac Pro possible, but it's still possible to do that. So
it's very true.
Yeah. And what year do you have? Which model?
I have a 2014 i5, and I'm telling you, outside of times when I do full workout videos with timer plugins from Pixel Film Studios or any kind of like picture-in-picture stuff, or when I start getting into to effects and motion and things like that and text overlays, it chokes a little bit, but I'm still not walking away making dinner like I would with Premiere Pro on a PC. It's still pretty optimized. In 2014, I'm like, if people are looking out there in 2019, look at all the people that put out videos now. I'd say 2013 iMac and 2018 or 19, 2014, 2015.
Yeah,
there are more of those than the new reviews out now. It's pretty amazing at the shift.
Yeah, I found that the same because I have a 2011 model and it's a mid 2011, has the i7 upgraded processor, 2 gigs of video memory, and 32 gigs of standard memory. And
I'm talking on one right now.
Yeah, I mean it's my standard machine. I've never had really an issue with it. It struggles a little bit if I import some 4K video from my iPhone, but not bad. And I like it because I took it apart and put a bunch of stuff inside. You
can upgrade the GPU on that too. I feel
like I got the newest one here. Then I got a 2017 iMac.
Mr. Fancy Pants over there.
That's what's actually doing this stream right now, and that's probably the reason why I'm the one doing it, because I have actually the newest computer out of everybody here.
And the best internet.
The newest, but not the fastest.
I'd agree. Not the best, but definitely the newest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried for everybody watching. I tried for weeks, man. Subliminal messages, creepy voicemails. I tried to get Michael Manna on a Mac Pro, but I failed.
I'm still trying to get him on one.
I really
No.
thought-
I'm completely no. I had a Mac Pro before. I had a 5.1. It was only a quad core. I'm talking about back before the trash can came out. I had it when it was pretty new, and I have to say, modularity probably for the next 5 to 10 years, as long as the software holds up and people keep patching it to get updated, it's totally fine. Like I said, I've been spoiled by the profile of the iMac because I literally, because my entire house is now a gym, I have this little corner to podcast in. So to have a tower and then wires and all that stuff, not a big deal, but it is. And I'm still looking at the premiums that Mac Sales, eBay sell you. There's still a premium on those towers that are close to a decade old. That still requires it. It's like basically living in Atlanta where I live, and you get a piece of shit house for $300,000, and you still have to put $200,000 into it to renovate it. Not that the Mac is, believe me, the house is hard, but not the Mac. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just the beginning of doing that and investing in it. It's kind of the same rabbit hole as buying a new Mac, where I'm gonna have to do this to make it work, that, and everything else. Now the infrastructure, I can prepare it until pretty much, the FBI comes and takes the Mac Pro and says they're illegal. But I'm still I get what you're saying. It's the long game. The Mac Pro 5.1 is the best Mac ever made. If you're gonna own it forever, that's the one.
Yeah, and I'd be very, very surprised if Apple would ever release a follow-up. Like they said they're going to do a modular Pro machine or something. I'm not holding my breath.
I'm not hopeful anymore.
Yeah, not either.
I bet you it's going to be, just my opinion. I know, I'm sorry I keep going on these tangents. The Mac Pro is going to resemble the serviceability and the upgradability of the Mac Mini. They're going to put some hoops up. If you're like us, and you could probably get in there and do it and not be too nervous, but they're going to put some hoops or some obstacles for you to jump over, hurdles, and they're going to and that's what they're going to do.
Oh yeah, it'll be like with the T2 chip or whatever. They'll try and regulate. Oh wait, you did a hardware change. Hold on, we have to phone home and make sure that's legit.
You're exactly right. That's exactly what they're going to do. The T2 chip is something that's going to be the biggest. It's going to let the air out of everything. Whoever's looking forward to this Mac Pro.
Or what they could wind up doing with the new Mac Pro is go ahead and make their shift to the ARM architecture, and by doing so, they generate their own proprietary modules of everything that goes into it. You got to have your specific cards, you got to have your specific processors and all that stuff, and lock it down in a way.
I would only think they would do that if there was a severe performance or cost reason driving them to do that.
Yeah, I would see ARM chips in the new MacBook Pros or MacBook Airs or something, but not in a Mac Pro. I would see them put in a Threadripper before they move away from Xeon and that.
I don't know. There's a lot of potent power in some of the high-end ARM processors, and if they're not having to deal with x86 and x64 architecture licensing, then they're going to save some money and be able to put some power in there. I mean, part of why the newer Macs are performing quote-unquote better on rendering and whatnot for video is because the T2 chip is an ARM chip. And it is assisting in some of the rendering, is my understanding.
I honestly think if the new Mac Pro is going to be somewhat modular, they might just forget the T2 chip or make some other kind of chip which will make it at least a little bit less restrictive.
Oh, you mean the T3 chip?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna go off your point right there and say they said they were going to make the Mac Mini modular. It was for you to tinker with. It was for all this stuff and that. They acted like they were giving something back to you, and everybody was super excited until you took a spudger and took that bottom off, and you saw the cage and you saw the location of the RAM, which is like, why? Yeah, why would you do that? So
you wanted this, right?
So when would that's the only reversal in recent Apple history, or even longer Apple history, back to Steve Jobs, and it was just the appearance. It was smoke and mirrors. That's all it was. And I don't see with the Mac Pro, or they make it so prohibitive. You know, I don't think they're going to give you the ability to put an RX 580 or a Vega 64 or whatever in it. They're going to have another version of that 2013 with those specialized D300s, 500s, or 700s, and you're going to be like, and you're just going to turn out one's going to drive the video, just like in the 2013. It's completely useless. You don't get dual video cards for that. I just don't trust them, and I don't even know if it's going to come in 2019. They just lost $100 billion in their value. They're going to be so selfish, and they said the future is service. So I would have to think they're going to make them.
But you know, Apple realized that they were screwing over their pro customers. You know, that's why they extended support for Mojave and all this stuff for the 5.1, because they knew that their pro customers that still wanted a Pro Mac were still hovering on the 5.1 instead of the trash can. So
I think they probably only realized that because probably sales of the trash can model were not what they were expecting, and that's probably the only reason that they finally were like, wait, let's take a look at what's going on here.
And it's like there's companies out there that customize and custom build 5.1s. You know, Apple sees that and they realize they need to come out with something again that's similar to it. You know, that's how I see. And I think that if they do release it in 2019, it's going to be modular somehow. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the new Mac Pro would have to be so amazing to, I don't know. Either the new Mac Pro is going to be amazing, and it's going to instantly make the iMac Pro look terrible, which it already kind of does now that AMD came out with that Vega 7.
Well, here's the thing too, Jay, and I think you're right about that. It has to be amazing, and it has to be upgradable, and that's the only thing that's going to make people switch. Because I mean, let's take for example right now, they got the new iMac Pro out there. Which, why is that even out there? You know, is that what's going to take over the Pro line?
I think it was a stopgap, obviously. Yeah.
Well, is it or is it not? I don't know, because some of the iMacs are just as good as that Pro. I mean, there's not much difference between the two, except for price.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they release a new Mac Pro, then their iMac Pro sales will go to crap. Or if the new Mac Pro is not good enough, then, you know, the iMac is going to keep selling.
But also look at the MacBook Pro, or actually the MacBook line. The MacBook Air, the new one that just came out. How is that going to affect? They still have the MacBook and the MacBook Air, and they're almost identical, both in price and everything else. In fact, the Air is actually a little bit better than the MacBook.
Reminds me of the issues that Apple had in the mid to late 90s before Jobs came back and drew that four-corner box and said consumer, prosumer. You know, that's this all over again. Centris, Performa, Quadra. You know.
Yeah.
They're going away from that. They need to have, again, they need to go back to the 4 quadrants. You know, you need to have a desktop user or consumer one, a desktop pro, a laptop consumer, and a laptop pro. That's all they need.
Even find if they made a prosumer model, you know, so 3 of each. That's fine, but what they have now is a little crazy. You know.
Well, I mean, even having it where you can make your own, put your own processor in, your amount of RAM, all that stuff. That's not a problem. I mean, but you still maintain in those 4 boxes. Now they got about probably 6 or 7, I think, because you got the MacBook Air, which is a different category. You got the MacBook, then you have the MacBook Pro. So there's 3 right there. Now you have the iMac, you have the iMac Pro, and you have the Mac Pro. So there's 3 right there. So that's 6. So that doesn't fit in that 4 box thing, you know.
And the Mac Mini.
And the Mac Mini now. Yes, that's 7. There's the 7th.
And then where do you put the iPad Pro and all? You know, it's
well, then
crazy.
you got that also. You got the iPad and the iPad Pro. I mean, are they still? They're still making the iPad. The the iPad Air or whatever they call it now. I forget what the new name
I think
is.
they just call it the iPad again.
Yeah. So
the thing with all that stuff is as confused. I'll just give an analogy. Like Jay has the bands behind him, and he's kind enough to invest in one of my programs. My knowledge is actually throughout the years, you know, not just resistance bands, but I have all kinds of modalities of training that I could probably try to monetize into Stevie Richards Fitness. I could try to bring that as a product. But when you go to the site, or even in PR, like people make fun of me because they think Stevie Richards, now they think the bands. That's cool. That's exactly what I want. That's kind of what Apple used to be. When you thought about Apple, you thought about creativity. You thought about, well, okay, when I go in there, I know what I want because I don't have to, there's 3 things. That's all I have to worry about. What happened with Apple was a lot of, it was after Steve Jobs died, everybody knows that, and that's no conspiracy theory. Once Steve died, Jobs, see, I'm all glitching out in the Matrix. Whatever, you know what he did, he's gone. How's that? When that happened, there was a certain pipeline of products that were still under the same quality control. There was still the vision, there was still the mission statement. Then when you saw the shift and it became more of a supplier, stock-driven, logistics type company where it's like, we need to release this. We don't care if it cannibalizes or anything else. We need to release this product because the stockholders want it. We need to release iOS whatever this time. The stockholders want it. We need to have this piece of hardware out. The stockholders want it. And the only thing holding them back on the new MacBook, the Mac Pro, is not creativity, is not quality. It's trying to figure out how much of a margin that they can make off it, because it's going to be $5,000 minimum. They'll have the iMac Pro, drop it to $4,000, you get the screen. This will be $5,000. Plus, they're waiting for the new 5K, the cinema display to come out, where they're going to charge $2,000 for that.
I agree.
At least.
At least.
Well said.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, guys.
I work around shysters and liars for 28 years, so I know.
Speaking of, we'll continue on the Apple bashing thing here, but we're going to go to our next topic here. Last week we talked about Facebook getting spanked by Apple and getting all their enterprise certificates revoked and all their internal stuff not working. Well, just so happens the day after that happened, they spanked Google doing the same thing.
In fact, I think it was the same day. It was just that night.
Yeah.
Right after we finished talking about it, it came out in the news about Google.
Mm-hmm. And they were doing the same exact thing that Facebook was doing. They were using their certificates to sideload apps to people that they weren't supposed to get them, instead of having it in a in tight corporate event, and they were basically not abusing the terms of service of that enterprise license. So Apple's not playing around with these guys when it comes to their certificates and stuff. So I think developers need to actually watch what they're doing now, especially these big corporate companies that are actually using internal apps with Apple, because basically what happened with Facebook, I know, all their internal apps that they use internally in Facebook stopped working. They could not use them. So if you're a corporate entity, I would suggest you start looking and see if you're actually violating those terms of services, because Apple is probably watching you now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know what surprised me about how they just revoked Google's certificates is I research security, right? So I look into the security notes from every update that comes out. And today's update for both macOS and iOS have 4 items that were addressed. You got FaceTime, you got live photos in FaceTime, and 2 other components. 2 of them were discovered by the Google Threat Analysis Group. And if you go back in time, most of the bugs and security issues that are discovered are found by people at Google. So you got this company helping you out with quality control that you never did, and then you slap them in the face like that, just taking their certificates away. That might blow back.
That's a good point.
I think their relationship has always been a little weird.
Well, yeah, especially since they dropped Google Maps and went with Apple Maps, which sucked from the get-go. But although
why you don't want to drive into the space shuttle that's landed on I-95 somehow?
Well, the problem with Google Maps was that they didn't have turn-by-turn directions on the iPhone with Google Maps, so you couldn't do much of anything with it. I personally don't use Google Maps. I don't use Apple Maps. I use Waze. That's my preferred application that I use for getting anywheres.
And Google owns that now.
Unfortunately, they do. Yeah,
Uh,
but it still is way better than Google Maps.
yeah. My
All
wife,
right, so-
since we moved
Huh?
to Ohio, we always used Apple Maps. But since we moved to Ohio, we can't really use Apple Maps because it will send us right onto a train track or something. Turn left here, and you're in the bushes. So she insists on using Google Maps, but
I use Google Maps.
I
It seems
suggest
to be
you
the
try
most
to use
reliable.
Waze. Waze is actually a very good one, and the cool thing about Waze is that you get reports from other users while they're on the road, so you get police reports, so you can avoid speed traps.
Yeah, but it's still Google Maps, and it's
I
still owned
understand
by
that.
Google.
I understand that, but you can't do that on Google Maps. You can do it on Waze.
are you advocating for speeding until you get an alert that there's a speed trap around?
Exactly. Who doesn't?
I wonder if it's the look of the app that turns a lot of people off, because it does look like a little kids app at times. I wonder if they have to redesign that UI to make it more people to kind of think it's attractive.
Yeah, I actually heard something interesting to Waze, not to go off topic here, but only take a sec, that apparently in New York, someone was trying, a municipality, I think it was the police department, was trying to get Google to have them remove the feature of, hey, you know, there's a police officer here, because they were finding that people were using it, obviously, to say, hey, there's a cop here doing a speed trap or whatever, you know, and that, you know, probably goes into a whole freedom of speech type thing, but I just thought that was interesting.
Well,
Seem to be cracking down on this stuff.
I mean, since we're talking
Trying
about
to-
it, I mean, to be honest with you, it's good to know where they're at.
And
Steve-
honestly,
and Mike would probably agree with me on that.
yeah, honestly, you know, sometimes when I see it on a map, I go, oh, there's probably an accident that hasn't been reported yet, or oh, you know, there's an incident where somebody's pulled over. I don't want to, you know, go through there, and you know, obviously there's something going on, so I'll just bypass it. I'll go somewhere else.
They don't, you know, they'll try to take any, because that's money out of their pocket. That's a quota. That's tax money that they would get from tickets. So obviously they will. The thing that would happen is if they really wanted, the scary thing is if they really wanted to have some sort of platform to stand on, God forbid if a cop ever gets killed or something, and somebody says, well, they used Waze to track them down or find them, that would be the straw that makes them take that feature out, because there would be nobody against that who would balk at that if they say, man, we have people, just gangs or locating cops or whatever. And I hope I'm not giving them any ideas. I'm just saying that.
Well, to be honest with you, I think if somebody did that, I wouldn't blame the tool. It's almost like, you know, I hate to get into the gun issue, but it's like saying that guns kill people. No, it's not the gun. It's the person that's actually shooting the gun. It's the people. It's not the app. So therefore, the app is not going to be the problem to me. Okay.
Well, it depends on how high the likelihood is of abuse. Like, there's apps out there
Everything
that
could be
show you
abused, though.
exactly where every playground is in the area. It's very convenient for parents. It's also very convenient for pedophiles. So they
And like I
can back
said,
down,
everything that we have out there, anything can be abused, one way or another. It doesn't matter what it is. Those weight bands you got back there, okay? They could probably be abused too. You
Oh,
could
no.
probably choke somebody with it, right?
I've tried to launch my cat through the backyard, but it wasn't strong enough.
But you see what I'm saying, though. I mean, there's things. Everything out there
Yeah.
has a specific purpose, but can be used for another purpose illegally, or, you know, the way it was not designed to do. I mean, everything
Right.
has that.
That's
Just
true.
like computers.
Exactly.
So you're not against something like Waze or a playground app, but you are against a FBI backdoor in your software.
No, I'm not. Oh no, I do not want the FBI backdooring it. No, you kind of got me confused there. Well, that's one of the good things I liked about Apple is when they stood up to the FBI and said, "No, we're not going to get into this phone." that right there put a lot of confidence in me and Apple.
I think what happened more than that was a little bit of theater. I think behind the scenes they said, "Hey, listen, we pay a lot of lobbying money and we do this and that. We bring a lot of jobs, through here." And they were like, "Okay, well, they really probably do secure your privacy better than Android or any other operating system out there." But I have no doubt that they were not the white knights that they claimed to be. It was not that. It was not the real conversation that occurred
the whole way. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, they're
but
smart. I do it too. Be like, hey, fuck you guys, and then come out there and go, yeah, I just said fuck you. Well, that is the same thing.
Well,
Sorry. That's what I
do
would
know
do.
that the last thing that they updated was, because of the way that company got into that iPhone for the FBI was basically through the USB port. That's the reason why now, okay, if you don't plug it into USB for a long time and you plug it in, you have to put your code in order to actually use data. It only charged through the Lightning cable now. It won't actually send data now over it unless you provide a code to the phone. Unlock
I'm
code.
pretty sure that while the government was talking to Apple trying to get in that phone, they already had several lines out to Celebrite and other people that they work with. Get in there. So.
Well, it's because the NSA already had everything they needed. They didn't even need to ask them for it.
They just wanted it to be easy.
All right, guys, we're going to go to our next topic here. And, Jay, I'm going to turn this one to you since you're the expert on this. Is why does Apple hate the server?
Because of innovation. I don't know. At the time, it was like, hey, the Xserve sales are not what we hoped they would be, and so goodbye Xserve. Start using Mac Pros and Mac Minis as servers. Which, okay, fine, I get it. You didn't hit your sales numbers. I get it. You axed the product, but why continue to keep crippling the server app to the point? Do we still have a server app now, or is it completely?
I think so.
I don't know if there is a server for.
No, it's called something different. It's called something different now in the App Store.
Yeah, but it still integrates into the operating system, as far as I know. It's still basically
every server I run is running 10.6, the last true macOS server version. That is, in my opinion, amazing. It's stable. It does everything you want a server to do, and I hate everything Lion and Up, where you have a different server app to do it. It just became more and more useless, and I just went back to the old version.
Okay, I guess this is a quick topic then, huh?
That was a real quick topic.
Well,
what about the guys in the chat here? Anybody have any comments on why Apple doesn't care about, their corporate, server people?
I'm surprised because, they were touting that 10 gig E connection in the Mac Mini. And I was, sort of waiting for after that to say, when we're revitalizing our server software a bit. But no, they didn't do that.
That's only for people like iJustine that buy a 120 terabyte box with 10 gig connection.
Yeah, can I get one of those too, please? Pretty please.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
I was going to say that I really have been a big fan of. Oh, who's breathing? Am I turning somebody on? Somebody was just breathing heavy. I really been a fan of Synology for a very long time, and when I initially had their I have the DS214 Play. I think it's a Plus. It's an older server, but we're talking about years old. 2 drive bays. They sent it to me. They gave me like 6 terabytes worth of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It's still not really filled up, but it's a good solution. Like when I do get off this Mac onto maybe another one, it's already backed up with everything important that I need. But Synology software and their UI and their assistant and even the mobile apps have come a long way, and the prices aren't bad. I would dare to say I use macOS Server for my old Mac Mini, the 2012. It just did, it was good. But what I'm looking at now looks nothing more than another app I could probably use, like Synology, on my Mac and get the same thing. And I can wire this and get the same thing that I want with and all the Synology ones now that for a long time have come with 10 gig Ethernet. So you can do a lot with them.
Yeah, I have an older Synology. It's like a 4-bay. I think it's a 410 or something like that. And I just use it for, backups and, just sharing data and stuff. But it's, even though it has a weak processor and my model's so old, it doesn't have a lot of memory, you could still share files over, the network to play on a TV and stuff. I mean, I'm very happy with mine, and I'm looking into maybe getting a new one eventually, but, it still works, thankfully. So.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I do. I have the smart TV with the LNA server, and anything that's there, I'll just play the videos or put stuff up there if I need to. It's a nice option, but then again, it's not. If they made it look more like, if their smart thing would be, I want to make it look like Mac OS server, and that would probably get more people. That's nice.
Yeah, Jay's holding what I would want, a USB 3 port on mine.
This is eSATA, FireWire 800, and USB 3. I buy these boxes exclusively. It's just a dumb RAID box.
Yeah.
And I let the server handle everything, the file sharing, the accounts, everything. But these things, they're cheap,
yeah,
they're reliable, and you can cram as big a hard drive in there as you want.
Yeah, the only problem I have with the Synology, and hopefully you don't run into this, but the Synology actually, you have to format the disks in its own format. It's either a Linux or it's Synology hybrid thing. And so I have, 4 4-terabyte disks in there, but I only have 8 gigs of, 8 terabytes of space available rather, because they're mirrored. And I thought, oh, let me back this up. And so I got an 8 terabyte USB drive. And it's only, USB 2 on the port. So it took forever to back up. Once I backed up, I'm like, let me just test my theory here. Theoretically, I should be able to unplug this drive, plug it into a Mac, read the file system. No. The file system was a Linux file system. And after a lot of playing around, I was able, to get the files and read them and everything. But it obviously is, not catered to someone to do that in that particular situation. What they want you to do is plug it into a brand new unit, or get new disks and then restore it from there. But just a heads up, if you are relying on any stuff from that file system, be careful. As long as you have a backup, you're good. But
well, if you're using Apple, then you're well used to being in a closed garden and a closed ecosystem. I'll say this about the Synology, and Jay, tell me if Mac OS server does this, because it looks to be a really attractive thing for a lot of people that don't realize it. Do they do surveillance? Because it has an excellent surveillance app and works with cameras like plug and play, IP wireless cameras. That's where Synology. So even just to have it on a loop and use that hard drive space as a loop for a DVR when you want to, your business or whatever. Does Mac OS server do anything like that?
No, you need third-party software. I use an app called Security Spy. It's compatible with pretty much every IP and other camera out there, but it's a separate app. Not from Apple.
I'm going to look at that. It has HomeKit support too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
They do. I guess
it said HomeKit. Yeah, it came up in the search. So that's pretty cool.
I'll put a link in the chat for anyone else that's curious. It's great software. I've been using it since I had a G4. A very long time.
You know what I used to do was remember the iCam app from way back, early iOS days? Yeah. I had multiple Macs that I had set up in my house in Connecticut, and I would use that when I was on the road, and it would record, it would motion detect everything. So I had like an iMac upstairs, and then I left the MacBook Pro like on the kitchen counter, so it had the whole, like, the entrance and the living room and everything. So it was a good little security camera system to have on the iPhone, and just look at that, and you could talk. I think they had talkback functionality after a while too.
Yeah, I remember. I've never used that. I've played with it. I've tested it, but I've never actively used it. I do know there were a few iOS apps where you could turn an old iPod Touch or an old iPhone into a security camera.
I did that for a while, and it worked well. Just to watch the pets and things while I was away. Worked pretty good.
Oh yeah, I used to use my old iPhone the same way, and it would work good too, because it would only act up when you detected motion within its field of view. So it would put stuff up on a server, so you could go back later and just look at it. It was like little video clips,
Huh, yeah.
I like Security Spy. I'm looking at it. Even has tvOS functionality. You can have it on your Apple TV if you want.
Oh, that's cool.
One thing I need to say though, I use it with about 9 cameras right now, and I have destroyed a lot of hard drives with this software. Make sure you get a surveillance hard drive, like the Western Digital Purple, because they will just keep going. But for some reason, a regular hard drive, when you have that many streams going in, it just runs itself into the ground eventually.
What about an SSD?
That should work.
I'm saying you have a longer, it won't spin or anything, so you might have longer shelf life with that.
Yeah,
But it might be because all the hammer.
Yeah, the rights to it. Yeah, SSDs don't like constant writes usually.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys.
See, so it wasn't a short topic.
It wasn't too short, but shorter than we're normally used to. But we'll go ahead to our next one. I mean, we're going through. We still got a bunch of stuff to go through. We're not even close to being done yet. What are your favorite resources? I'll start with mine. I actually send a lot of stuff to these guys over our FaceTime Messenger, or whatever they call it now, messages. And I use ZDNet is a good source of all my information, because not only do they actually look at what's happening in the PC world, security, but they're also looking at Apple. So they do a lot of different areas, and so it's a good way to keep up with what's going on in the tech community and stuff. I also use 9to5, Apple 9to5, which is another one that I use, and they keep up with a lot of Apple stuff only. But I do like ZDNet a little bit better, because they're pretty equal opportunity offenders. So a lot of the problems that Microsoft was having with Windows and their latest update, where they put it out, they were having issues, they pulled it, they put it back out, had more issues, pulled it, put it back out, had more. I mean, they must have went about 3 or 4 times before they actually got it right. So, and I learned about all that through ZDNet, because I don't see it, most of the time. A lot of us, especially Apple users, don't really particularly care about Microsoft, but when Microsoft screws up, we like to poke the bear a little bit and say, ha ha, you screwed up, But they also get Apple when they screw up too, so it's it's pretty back and forth. There are some articles that I don't agree with on there. I think last week we talked about one of them was the battery issue, and this guy was talking about his iPhone 8 not holding the charge. Well, duh, he was almost at 500 cycles, and Apple said 500 cycles, 80%. Well, that's what he was at almost. And so he was at what Apple said the battery was going to be at, but he was complaining that his battery was not lasting for over a year and a half. I'm like, I've got an iPhone 8, the same exact one as him. So, but there's stories like that. But that's what I use ZDNet. So we'll go over to Jay and let Jay talk.
Before I answer, Michael, I want to know, when you had the issues with your AirPods, is there a way to see how many charge cycles an AirPod has?
I really haven't done any research on that, but my thought would be, unless there's a third-party app that specifically does that, probably not. I don't know. They mysteriously work sometimes, and they mysteriously don't work sometimes. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet until both of them die.
Bummer. What were we talking about? Oh, right, resources. It varies a lot. Facebook groups are a huge resource for me. Depending on the platform I'm using, like if I'm using PowerPC, one of the resources I use is the PowerPC App Store. That's my go-to for checking for any software that I might need. For news, I got an RSS feed running from Mac Rumors and 9to5 something.
Mac.
Yeah, that one. So I get my news through that. Apart from that, it's actually my biggest resource is search engine, not Google. But if I need something, I do a search and it points me in the right direction. So that's it.
Yeah,
What
well,
about you, Greg?
basically what I use is Facebook groups is a number one probably, but close there is probably Redmond Pi and Mac Rumors, and then to get software and stuff like Jay, I just usually do a search engine search and find the reputable website that won't give me 1,000 viruses. And that's about all I do. So.
How about
Anyone
you
else?
there, Rocky?
All right.
Well, for me, that's a tough one because a lot of my news is from multiple different sources. I mean, I'll come across I use one of those kind of aggregate news types of deals, and a lot of it'll come from all over the place. I mean, Gizmodo, sometimes it's ZDNet, sometimes it's Mac Rumors, sometimes it comes from even PC World and stuff like that. You'd be surprised how much they keep track of Mac. And, you know, plus some of it does actually, like I get hints and information from some YouTubers I like to follow, like Linus Tech Tips. You'd be surprised some of the info he comes across. And then I research it a little bit more. As far as resources for tools and utilities and apps and things of that nature, I actually use Google as my go-to to try to track some of this down. I don't necessarily like Grudy and Jay, I don't necessarily use a singular source for my apps and utilities. I actually try to jump out there and research it myself, try to get hints, and I do fall back on groups, whether it be some online forum posts that I'm part of, or my friends, and sometimes Facebook groups that have good people in them. But that's pretty much the bulk of mine.
Oh, and the other thing, I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought that up. I do also do YouTube too. Lots of things from YouTube.
I
It's
think
amazing what
America
they
gets
have.
their education off of YouTube today. For some reason.
Yeah,
hopefully they're
I
not watching
That's
my
a
channel.
millennial thing. Steve, what about you?
It used to be for the longest time Mac Rumors. I used to be a very avid poster there. I still have a lot of friends I met through that community, and there's nothing wrong with the website, but I branched out in Gadget, ZDNet, just the standard tech blogs. But actually, since communicating with you guys a lot, the Mac groups on Facebook are not a bad place. There's a pretty good audience there, and I think it's always nice to hear about like the applesauce devices and SCSI 2SD and things like that, because the sites that are more modern focused are not going to really cover that. So those groups are always nice, and I actually do get a lot of news from things like Twitter or YouTube, technology related type stuff. A lot of people I follow there either not as news focused, but as hey, this old retro thing is coming out or whatever. So that's really where I get my news from, and usually friends and things like that. Another two websites that I go to for software and things like that, for abandonware, Macintosh Garden is a great one, and so is Macintosh Repository. It seems like Macintosh Repository is kind of mirroring Macintosh Garden, except not taking the metadata, so that's a little unnerving sometimes, because I'll by habit just log into one or the other, and they would have like the 4 files listed, and I'm like, what's the difference between these two? Go to Macintosh Garden, has everything listed there. So
yeah, well, Garden is known for having all abandonware. The Macintosh, the other one, my mind just went. Yeah, Repository. They sometimes have more pirated stuff, because some of the stuff.
Yeah, the line's a little blurred there.
It's kind of blurry.
But to me, the the reason why I go there is sometimes you'll have like an OS install disk that is for a very specific model or whatever, and maybe it's not on Macintosh Garden. I don't care where I get it from. Apple's not going to sell me the disk. I'm not going on eBay to buy a set of restore disks that may or may not work. I just want to burn a CD and try and boot up a computer. That's what I care
Speaking
about.
of that, Macintosh Garden, the owner, creator, et cetera, Christian, he's a big fan of our channel and my
great.
channel.
Oh,
So, hi, Christian. I'm sure you'll be watching.
Yeah,
Eventually.
I appreciate it. I've uploaded quite a few discs there recently of some old software and some weird finds and things like that. I think it's something that's great, and I'm very glad that it's a scene again, because it's awesome to preserve a lot of this stuff. I mean, got a box of floppies here that I need to upload, but I'm glad I'm not the only one doing it.
Box of
I got
floppies.
some stuff that needs indexing.
I got some just sealed.
So Michael, last but not least, there. What about you?
Oh, I'm checking out Macintosh Garden. I'm looking at some of these old flight sim games that look really good. Really good.
Your
really
Mac
good.
is too new for that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
How long
see
do
a
you
Power
want to use-
PC.
Yeah, a lot
I
of
see
it.
that.
A lot of it's for the old OS 9. I mean, there's some stuff in there that's made for the for OS 10.5, 10.6, but I don't think anything higher than that really.
we can get you hooked up with an old Power PC though.
Oh,
We got
yeah,
connections.
and you can start gaming
I
with
hope.
us.
Well, I want to get that Logitech flight yoke thing. I want to start doing flight simulators. That might be a reason to get a more powerful Mac too.
See, we need
Try
to
to
get
get a better
him on
video
UT.
card.
Yes,
that?
we do.
Unreal Tournament.
I'm down for that. I got to catch up my PSVR stuff and everything. As far as the information, I've sort of reversed the trend that I used to do, where obviously I'd go check the news sites or the RSS feeds or anything like that. It seems like every morning when I wake up and I want to work out, or throughout the day, I have thoughts of information that I want to search for. So YouTube is usually the number one thing. 1B would be like Reddit, definitely forums. I kind of avoid any kind of official post. I want to hear it right from the people that are using it. The reviewers I'm so tired of hearing buttery and crispy and all that bullshit. I don't want to hear it. So I avoid those people like the plague. Once you say something is buttery smooth, you're fucked. I'm done. I'm gone. Not interested. I'm going to click it. Not interested on YouTube. But that's kind of the thing. And, me and Jay talk about conspiracy stuff and everything. But it really does come down to, like, I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to kind of go do my own thing. I'm going to listen to the people kind of with their feet on the ground that are using the stuff, and what the real, as hypercritical as it might be, like the iPad Pros being better or whatever, I need to hear it because I'll be one of those people. So that's kind of where I'm at. And it's more fun to see, like, the Mac Pro Users Group, how I found you guys on Facebook, to see the thread really have a conversation rather than, half the comments of a post are, your article sucked. Oh, another trash piece. Oh,
Or, you got a typo.
Yeah, typos, this, that, the other thing. Your audio dropped for 2 milliseconds and I heard it. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. I don't
comments are
go
poison
down my
anyway.
rabbit holes, not theirs.
Yeah, comments
I
are
just-
bad, but I mean, ever
Not
since
our
we-
comments.
Well, not our comments, because we've actually gotten some very positive feedback on this channel so far. I don't, knock on wood here, we have not gotten one thumbs down yet, and don't let anybody give us a thumbs down.
Now
Just
they're gonna
do it.
press.
There's gonna be that
Yeah.
one guy. It happens in all my videos. Here's what I follow up with though. The groups are different. The groups and the forums and
Yes.
Reddit, they get that way, but they're different because I really do feel like, and this is speaking from a wrestling standpoint, the fans could be awesome, but they can also be your biggest enemy because there's some kind of they're kind of your adversary. See, I can say the word. It's an adversarial type of relationship because I read an article and I go, okay, cool, I got the information I want. Somebody else who maybe they want to write a blog post or write for a site, they're sort of, I could do that better, and they start saying comments to bury the person who wrote the article, which has nothing to do. You guys see it all the time. I think historically that's where forums and groups are much different than reading an official blog post and then the comments. It can go a completely goofy way.
That's a good point.
I'm breaking it down like Alex Jones of the fucking Apple world or something.
I almost forgot one page. I think they're still around. Apple Insider. I used to visit a lot.
Actually,
a lot.
I think they still are.
The one thing nobody mentioned is magazines. Does nobody read magazines anymore?
I do on my iPad.
Yeah.
That just made me think of something. We never mentioned low-end Mac either.
No, that's one of the groups.
Actually, Rocky kind of did. He said Facebook groups and stuff, so Rocky kind of did. He
well, so did Gritty.
Yeah, but you got to remember, low-end Mac has their own website.
Oh,
Guess
that's
what the URL
true,
is.
yeah.
And not that Greg is a moderator over there, you know.
Yeah, no, I for vintage stuff, back in the day, it was low-end Mac, every Mac. You know, those are the sites I would constantly hit up for specs or this or that, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and throw this over to Steve now because I think you're pretty much the expert on this topic here. Transferring files to and from old Macs.
Yeah, so this is a fun topic. So the problem that a lot of people come into, especially if you don't have a collection of old Macs like most of us do, you know, you may come across a machine, you may pick up a machine, and due to the age of these machines, the hard drives are either dead or you don't have the software that's with them, or you get them secondhand and whatnot. And you know, a lot of the earlier Macs, the only removable media was a floppy disk, and you know, there are even variations on this. It could be a 800K or a 1.4 megabyte disk and things like that. And so one of the big challenges is if you get a machine and you don't have, you know, another comparable machine that's maybe a few years newer, that could be a sort of a bridge machine, is how to get software on there. And you know, this is something I've struggled with, even though I have a bunch of machines. I've tried to find an easy way to do things. And it can be very difficult. So a lot of people ask, well, why can I get the machine online? If I get online, can I just download something or transfer it or whatever? And there's a few problems that you run into. And the first one I want to mention is called the resource fork. And a lot of people, you know, maybe a little too older to understand that, or if they're coming, you know, into this stuff new, they may not, you know, understand why. Let's say they copy a file, they put it on a PC formatted disk, and they bring it over to the Mac or whatever. The resource fork is sort of like an organized database thing that's used internally on the operating system for a Mac. And so when you copy a file from a Mac to a Mac, it's fine. The resource fork is usually retained. Even on, I think on newer Macs, it's not, you know, a problem or anything. But if you're on a PC or something and you, let's say, download, let's use an example of an application. So let's say you have an application that's a Mac application. You downloaded it from the internet, you decompressed it, and you put it on a disk or something, and you give that disk to a Mac. It's going to come up as a error 39 or a, you know, blank file. It's not going to know what to do with it because that resource fork has been lost in the process. And so that's the first challenge is you know, getting over the resource fork hurdle. And you could do that with things like Stuff It Expander and drop stuff, you know, stuff the file, even if you're not compressing it, just put it in a container. And that Stuff It file, you could actually take that, put on an FTP site, put on a PC. That's going to retain everything because it's sort of like a .zip. You can't use .zip in most cases because it will not actually preserve the resource fork, at least in my experience. Stuff It seems to be the only thing that seems to like that. But there's the catch-22 of how do you get Stuff It? You have to download it. Well, how do you download it? Well, it's a Mac app, so it has resource fork. So you have to download a Stuff It file that has Stuff It on it. And that's your problem there. You can't really do that unless you have, you know, an old machine to sort of, jump through some hoops there. So, you know, these are a lot of problems I'm giving you, but I also want to give you some solutions. So one that I've used for an Apple II, and apparently it works on the Macintosh as well, and I haven't tested it too far, but it looks promising, is I'm going to Google it while I'm blabbing here. I think it's the A2 server, and it's for a Raspberry Pi, and it's I think it's for the Raspberry Pi, yeah. And so it's basically a pre-configured server disk image that you download, and it's running an Apple file server, and you can, you know, use it to boot old machines off of, and you could also use it to transfer files and things like that. And that helps a little bit because it's sort of like the mediator between things. And yeah, someone in the comments said ResEdit, and yeah, ResEdit you could use if you had it, is an application you could use to edit the file or the resource fork. But yeah, that software solution is a freebie. You could just download it. Ideally, if you want to do this type of stuff, it would be great to have an older Mac, something pre-iMac, so around maybe 97, 98, that has an Ethernet port and a local talk port. So that's the old the round serial connectors on the Macs, because almost every Mac has it, and even the old 512K, there's adapters and things. But if you have a serial port or an Ethernet port, you could transfer things back and forth. And it's slow, but the ideal thing is to just get started on that old computer. Just get the operating system installed and things like that. There's also other good solutions if you have a new Mac and an old Mac. A lot of people forget, but iOmega zip disks are 100 megs at minimum, and USB, SCSI, parallel, IDE. There's a ton of connectors for those things. I have a collection of them. Some of them could get very tricky. The click of death. Some of the drives don't work. Some of the disks don't work. But you can get them cheap. Yeah, he's got some there.
Unless you get them off eBay.
Type. Yeah. So if you're transferring from one Mac to another, zip disks can break that 1.4 megabyte limit of that floppy disk that you're trying to transfer stuff over. You could boot from a zip disk. I've done it on a Mac SE, and apparently people have done it on older machines. So I want to try and do a video one of these days about sort of these problems, because I see these posts a lot about people getting machines and it doesn't have disks, and how do I get it booted? How do I get some software? So yeah, it's I think going to be one of those things where as people start finding these things and getting excited about playing with these old machines, they're going to find there's some hurdles. But thankfully, it looks like there's some modern equivalents like the SCSI 2SD and things like that, where it's going to be a bit easier as long as you have a spare $60 or so to spend on an adapter to get these devices up.
Who doesn't?
and like you said, using pre-iMac Macs, it's like the G3 Beige is like perfect for that. It's got the floppy drive that's good for it. It can write 800K disks and stuff, and it's. If I ever fix my Plus, that's going to be what's getting my Plus back up online, probably.
Yeah, and especially the PowerBooks, like some of the older PowerBooks, the G3 PowerBooks, or even the pre-G3 ones. It doesn't have to be anything fast. You just need an Ethernet connection or a PC card slot or something modern. Yep. And yeah, you could even use something like a Raspberry Pi to translate that local talk connection to an Ethernet connection. So there's a lot of creative ways out there. So don't give up.
Yeah, the reason why I said the eBay thing, if you take a look at the stream right now, I'm actually posting. There's this Lisa on there right now, Apple Lisa 1 for $65,000. Buy it now price.
I keep telling you, he's going to probably get that because it's got dual Twiggies in it.
Well, he doesn't have a time limit on set on this, so it's basically a buy it now.
It's going to probably be there for a year or two, but it will sell eventually.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I mean, that right there. I mean, that's just. I hate to say it, but that's just ridiculous. I would never pay that much.
I am so cautious to put any money into any vintage piece of equipment because of the age of the components. Everything breaks. I don't care if you or you have an old car or a fancy car, everything breaks. It's nothing's gonna last forever, and so especially something old. I mean, I cringe when I spend $200 on an old computer bundle, and I have to spend months repairing it, and I get nowhere. But that's just me because I'm a cheapo. But I mean, this stuff, maybe for someone it's worth it, but not for me. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't have anything older than G3, so for me it's pretty simple. I just set up an FTP share on my server, put CyberDuck or whatever for OS 9 or OS 8, and I just FTP everything around my network. Of course, it's nice not having to worry about PC and Linux because I don't have any of that garbage. So it's just Mac to Mac over FTP and never any issues. And I use zip drives a lot too.
Yeah. I actually just remembered something. I helped someone on Reddit a while ago. They got an iMac G3. They already had an operating system. They already had OS 9 on there. but they needed something, a few pieces of software or stuff at Expander or something like that, but they couldn't find a link, and they didn't even have a web browser on it. So I was up to the challenge. I'm like, all right, I want to help this guy out. How am I going to get him Mac-compatible files? All he had was a PC. How am I going to get him Mac-compatible files on his iMac? His iMac had an Ethernet port. So I said, hey, I have an idea. I started up file sharing on my clamshell iBook, and I enabled the TCP IP setting, and I forwarded the ports on my router, gave him my IP address, gave him a guest login, and he was able to connect right to my iBook over the internet, which had a bunch of files in Mac format, and he was just drag and drop from my server to his, client, and it worked fine. So sometimes,
Nice.
it's not a hard solution, but, you just have to make sure you have the right connections and stuff. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the old stuff seems to be cranky, so you could have a perfect setup, and sometimes it's just not going to happen.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I used to have a Mac SE SC30 FDHD, and trying to get stuff on it, just like you said, because I had a old laptop with a floppy drive on it, and that's how I got stuff from point A to point B.
Use a SideQuest disk, 44 megs.
Yeah.
I think we just lost Mike because he's buying that Lisa right now.
I mean, if there was a, no, I'm so not into I'm not a collector of anything. It has to work.
Yep.
I don't have enough room for the stuff that actually works. I'm not going to just, it would have been kind of cool to keep all the, I had the first generation MacBook Pro. I had all these other iPhones and everything. It'd be cool to have, but it's not worth doing.
You're just
it
going to sit in
anyway.
the drawer, probably.
You're not
That's-
nostalgic, right?
Well, unless it's like you got the stuff behind you guys. If it's part of a set, then it's like, okay, cool. That's, you can try to get the IRS and write off a little bit of that and put it on camera. But it's, hey man, that Lisa holds a lot of historical value to Apple, and where the turning point was and everything. It wasn't just the iMac. It was taking chances like that. And what Steve, and just the story of naming it Lisa in Steve Jobs' personal life as a whole. That's probably why the Lisa is worth so much money, because it is. There's stories upon stories about that particular machine.
Yeah, just like, and there are not a lot of them around because they put most of them into a landfill. So
Yeah.
Along with the E.T. video game for Atari.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
one-
Hey, they actually
Cool.
dug that up, by the way.
Yeah, they saw money. Yeah, they were like,
I was
wish
waiting
I
for them to
got
find a
it
Lisa.
first. Hey, you never know. Just like I always see it in the group. They're like, oh, the school or the business or this place was just getting rid of a bunch of these towers, and it's like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? You never know. Somebody be like,
Yeah,
That's
right
one of
place,
those
right
old-
time.
yeah, it's like an old IBM computer. Just take it. Not the one John Teeter came back for, but another one.
Yep.
Did you get that one, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's a tip for anybody who's just a quick thing. If anybody's ever on, Letgo or Facebook Marketplace or any of these apps, and you're going up to pick up something, I have always asked this question, and the worst they could do is say no. I said, "Do you have anything else like this?" And I said that once, and I walked away with an Apple III. So, it's you just got to ask, and you just got to be friendly with the
Greg
guys.
walked away
some
with
people
the
don't care.
1,1, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
free.
I did.
Yeah.
Buying two 20-inch cinema displays, and he tossed in the 1,1 Mac Pro for free.
Yeah, I went to pick up an Xserve 2 weeks ago, and I came home with 11 of them. So, what do you?
All right, so let's go ahead and keep this rolling here. We've got another group on here that we're trying to still get. We still haven't got it all the way. It's the 32 group FaceTime test. We want to beat that other YouTube group that only did what did they do, 25 or 27, somewhere around there. They didn't get to the full 32. We want to still try to get the full 32. So we're begging you guys, go out there, tell your friends that have hardware that can do group FaceTime. Tell them to go to our MacYak or not Facebook page, but our MacYak web page, and it will have a link. We'll have a link in here for it. But go to that web page and sign up for the thing. I think we've got about 12
No,
12,
the list
13.
grew pretty quickly.
13. Okay, well
last
I was
time.
close, but
I don't know. How many do we have?
I don't know, but we've done
We
it.
need more.
Yeah, I think we did up to like 15, but like I was on 4 different times. I think Jay was on 3 times. I think Greg was on a couple times. Rocky was on a couple. I mean, we were like doubling and tripling up. We want to get 32 unique people.
Yeah,
we want to
13.
actually get 33 because we want to try to see what happens if the 33rd person tries to get in. We want to break it. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
you get a
that's
call
our
from
goal.
Tim Cook being like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Well, he probably will. He probably be like, "You're breaking my stuff. You're doing it wrong."
Why would they even have 30? I mean, theoretically, I know you try to test it, but 32 people on a group FaceTime call is just, I mean, you're talking about security bugs, you're talking about fixes, you're talking about bandwidth, you're talking about inviting problems. I think people would be like, because Skype, I don't know how far Skype goes, but I'm assuming like you put 32 people on a Skype call, it's not going to work out. Four or five is too much at
Well,
times.
yeah, because we start talking over each other, and then you can't hear anybody, and it gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I think
the
Skype
mixed
is
mind.
25.
Yeah, that's the mix minus thing. That's why I got that mixer. It's got the built-in one, but I wonder how FaceTime's going to handle that. I mean, I was on it once with you guys, but I don't know if it's something that he kind of solved or if it's still that little robot modulation when you got more than one person trying to talk at the same time.
Speaking of your fancy new mixer panel, I'll take that Elgato off your ass for $20.
You're talking about the Cam Link?
Yeah.
Which one, the green screen or the Cam Link?
No, the one with all the buttons.
Oh, the Stream Deck. That's going to be part of my whole. That's going to be part of my whole thing on OBS.
But
Well,
you can
one-man
have over
show,
like
dude.
600
What the-
buttons.
Well, why not? Well, you can pay me $1 per button. How about that?
All right, before we lose Michael here, we're going to go to our what we're calling our shameless self promotions segment
Yeah.
here. And Steve, we're going to let you go first. Right now, I got your webpage up for your SRF for your YouTube channel. So if you want to talk about it.
Oh, thank you. Stevie Richards Fitness, we talked about it earlier a little bit when we were kind of giving analogies to how Apple runs. But the way I do it on Stevie Richards Fitness, my mission statement is to make the most affordable, accessible workout programs out there. If you're a true beginner, have never touched any kind of weight before or worked out, I recommend a 12-week resistance band training program, $14.99, direct email support with me. And pretty much you have support for as long as you use the program. So there's the bands. Those are available too. They have lifetime warranties, and they're, I have to come up with a 2 or 3 page disclaimer, which is going to be a complete joke coming very soon of things you shouldn't do with the bands. So also the 16-week just came out at the end of last year. That's 4 more weeks, 4 new phases, more bonus content. Different than the 12-week. But if you've never worked out, like I said, 12-week first, then 16-week after that. And I'm pretty transparent about the fact you can scale these to 2, 3, 4 times longer than the prescribed program. So you can get a big value out of all that stuff. And also, the YouTube channel is growing and getting subscribers. So I appreciate that from everybody. Putting up more conspiracy type stuff now. And we're going to start putting up more stuff that we can. It's good stuff, man. I want you to watch it. Hey, Steve, I want you to watch the video on the Bush funeral and the envelopes that were being passed out. It's pretty crazy shit. Hey, you can laugh all you want, man. We're fucked.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we are.
Can I see a draft of that disclaimer before you put it up?
It's going to be about 20 pages long. It's going to be
Makes
ridiculous.
Apple Eula look like a novelette.
It's strictly a parody project, but it will also probably the way people are getting, with just being lazy and suing all over the place. It's probably going to become a real thing.
So you're saying I should not try to launch my cats through the backyard with sand?
Yeah, it's not, and it doesn't make a good cock ring. That's the other thing I was going to say.
That's number 2 on the list there.
Yeah, see, now he's going to have to put a disclaimer because we said all that stuff about don't use it for launching cats. Don't use it for choking somebody.
Hey, you got to be careful, Jay. You say that, and the wrong sensitive person hears that. They'll come after you.
Oh, I know, and that's the problem. That's the reason why we got coffee cups from McDonald's with hot on it, because some dumbass doesn't know that coffee's hot.
Actually, you got to read into that story. That's
a very interesting story.
It's very interesting. It was you poke fun at it, but it was like many degrees over than it should have been. And,
well, I understand that, but
I'm not blaming
coffee.
Yeah, but common sense. But in today's world, that doesn't go too far.
Well, there is no common
that kind of
sense
stuff
anymore
because it just makes me very sad for the state of human beings.
Okay, so let's go over to Steve.
You go over to someone else for 1 second. I just got to set up the tripod.
Yeah, go to Jay.
Okay, well, we'll go to Jay then. We'll go over to Jay.
Just swap my video out for a second.
Yeah. All right, Jay, we got your YouTube channel up.
Real quick, Michael, if you want to head off, thanks for joining.
Yeah, I got to get up at 3 a.m. for the gym, so I hate to cut out earlier, guys. Yeah,
no
it was a good time.
Hope
I wasn't too salty. They said I was salty in the chat room. So
not salty enough.
I have my moods. I've been working on the Trump time travel video, so I'm a little amped up. It's gonna be interesting, guys. You look up if you can. There's actually a book called Baron Trump and the Time Traveling, and it was written in the 1890s, and it predicts Baron Trump going. I did say the kid looks exactly like the kid they drew in 1890 in the book, and the person that saves him and helps him out is the president, who's known as the Don. It's crazy stuff, man. I'll leave you guys with that. Have sweet dreams, everybody. How's that?
You too.
See you guys.
See you, Michael.
All right, Jay, you're up.
I think you're supposed to hide Steve's window while he's setting up. Element of surprise and all that.
Pull Rocky down into it. I'll be right back, guys.
You guys are making me work.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Well, we could always switch over to group FaceTime now.
No, good lord.
Okay. I'll be right back.
What do I have going on? Self-promotion. Well, I got my YouTube channel, which doesn't have a name yet because I don't have enough subscribers to actually give it a name. But we'll put the link in the description at the end. I have a lot of stuff planned for the YouTube channel. I just picked up a whole bunch of excerpts. G4, first generation G4 that has an actual tray optical drive instead of a slot load. I'm very happy about that one. I'm going to do videos about that, about the Xserve G5, about the Xserve cluster node. So it's going to be a whole Xserve series. And hopefully by the end of it, I will be able to hook up all Xserves in one giant cluster, and we can see what one of those clusters could do back in the day. So I need to make sure I'm connected to a power connector that has the appropriate breaker installed. Because so far tests have not been successful. But that's one of the things I'll be focusing on primarily. I also need to update my blog, thehouseofmoth.com, because that's gone a little stale. So I need to do a lot more overclocking fun things on there. And then, of course, there's the Apple serial number info.com, which is going to receive massive updates as well.
All right, let me hold on. Let me pull up so people could see this. So I'm having a hard time getting all this stuff up. So hold on one second.
We'll put the links in the description.
No, we're pulling it up. So there's your House of Moth website. So folks can see. Explain how you got the name House of Moth.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
The House of Moth, I wanted to create a blog for anything that didn't go on any of my other websites, just random stuff that came to mind that I felt like doing. And I needed a name. I needed a domain to put it on. And my son at the time was really into this movie called Maya the Bee. And this little bee gets kicked out of the hive, goes exploring, falls into a moth hive or whatever you call it, and it's called the House of Moth. And I'm looking for a name, and he says the House of Moth, and I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty badass domain. So I went with it, and that's how the House of Moth came to be. And the same reason that my Mirror Drive door G4 is called Project Maya. That's also I suck at thinking of cool code names, or project names. So I just turned to my kid and said, Jacob, what should I call this? And he just laughs something out, and it usually works.
So, Rocky, I didn't get anything for you for self-promotion, so I don't have any...
No pictures. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
Most of the links are down there for what I'm doing because primarily I'm going to try to start doing more on my YouTube channel. I've got a bunch of video stuff ready and queued up. I just need to get it out there and finish polishing it up in one of these video apps. So I've also, which by the way, that's the channel's called Evil Mod Pixie. And then let's see, the other things I'm doing is I'm working on some game setup stuff, and then continuing to kind of build my little side business here. It's becoming a side business now. Doing, different repairs and rebuilding whatever, sales, service, vintage stuff, new stuff, blah, 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 related to computers and things. I don't have a whole lot of exciting stuff coming down the pipe in the next month, but I'm hoping to maybe get some things rolling. We'll see.
Well, that's good. Okay. Let me get. I'll get Greg's stuff up and running. He's got some interesting stuff here, but let me get his. It doesn't want to work right. Anyways, so let me pull Greg over so he can discuss his shameless plug and why did it not. All right, hold on.
You just love this Skype, don't you, GT?
I hate Skype. All right, hold on. And I can't get you over on the right side. What the?
Any day now, GT.
I'm trying. Okay, Skype officially
Come
sucks.
on, Greg.
Huh?
Come on, Greg. Come on, Greg.
Yeah, I'm working on it. This is our comic relief for the night. So, anyways, go ahead and start talking about yours, and I'll have it running here.
All right. Well, since you guys know, I run the Rutke Mods YouTube channel and also my Facebook group and Discord, which I still haven't announced on that channel. I need to eventually. I run all those. I'm a moderator on Low End Mac and an admin to a lot of groups on Facebook. I like helping people out. I have a collection of over 60 Macs and other systems, and the YouTube channel basically shows you how to get the most out of each and every one of the Macs that are showing in this video right now. I enjoy collecting these systems and using them, and a lot of these systems, believe it or not, I use on a regular basis, daily even. A lot of them are PowerPC. What's with that look, GT?
You telling me you use 65 something Macs every day?
I said a lot of them, not all of them. But yeah, and I rotate them out and stuff. But on the YouTube channel, I've got the Mac Pro series, which shows you how to get the most out of your classic aluminum tower Mac Pro. And that basically ranges from the 1,1 all the way through the 5,1 now. In fact, coming up very soon, I am doing the CPU swap for my 4,1. Right here we've got the, what is this? The X5680s, the 3.33 6 hex core CPUs. Those should be fun. Have a 12-core 4,1. Can't wait to do that. And I I do a lot of things. I also have the PowerPC series, which shows you how to set up and use your PowerPC in today's world, what it can still do. Enjoy doing that. I've got my PowerMac G5. Late 2007 MacBook Pro, which I'm going to try to pick this up without dumping everything. But anyway, we've got this MacBook Pro right here, and here it is. And Colin Mister hooked me up. I got a really cheap 2.6 early 2008 logic board here, which he swapped the GPU out on. And I've got the top case to a 2008 because the trackpad connector is a little different. I've got a new Super Drive, 6 gigs of RAM, and a Mojave compatible Wi-Fi card. We'll be swapping all this into that case that Jay sold me. And by the way, this system still runs even that way, but it'd be cooler with the 08 board because it would be Mojave compatible. So that's coming up, and it looks like it's in sleep mode. But anyway, so that's coming up, and then whoa, I almost dropped everything. That would have been bad.
Shocker.
And then another thing coming up probably next week, we've got 2 old non-unibody MacBooks here, as we see here. Colin Mister actually said, hey, you want a really cheap 5.2 logic board? I said, yeah. So I got this for like $38, and this thing's like in really good shape. But I bought this so I could stick it into this. The neat thing because Apple killed off the black books for the 5.2s. When the 5.2s came out, black books died. So there's no official black MacBook that can unofficially run an operating system like Mojave. And the late 2007, early 2008 black books, the cases are 100% compatible with the 5.2 other than like one post in them. And I'm going to swap all this 4.1 parts out of this and stick a 5.2 board into it. So that's the next thing coming up in this channel there. And I've just got a lot of things in the pipelines, and I'm really looking forward to doing it, showing you guys. And I think I've killed enough time to hopefully have Steve all set up here.
Looks like he might be set up, so we'll pull him down and see if he's... Are you ready, Steve?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I am.
All right, hold on. Let me get you pulled down and get Greg and Rocky, and we'll give you the whole screen here.
Oh, boy.
Woo,
Too much pressure. All right, so let me get this situated. There we go. All right, so I have, I guess you're going to put up the little still there, or what do you want to do?
Yeah.
All right, you do that first, and I'll segue into this then.
Hold on, let me get a perfect
Take your
spot for this. All right, there we go. All right, it's up.
All right, cool. So a few months ago, actually, I picked up something on Facebook, and you can see what it is. It was a pretty much not new in box, but I guess used in box, old Macintosh Performa 430. And it's pretty neat because, I don't know, I always thought these machines were pretty cool. And I never thought I would have a new in box pretty much Macintosh to open up. So I'm doing a video on my YouTube channel, be out in a few days. So if you're not looking at that, just search for Mac 84 on YouTube. And it's a pretty cool little thing that I found there. It has the monitor in it, has a system in it, has a lot of the original papers and discs and stuff. So that was just really cool. I never expected to find a Mac like that in the box, you know? So that was pretty lucky. So that sort of segues into what I want to show you here, with, if I could get this tripod to work in the small corner space I have here. But so this is not the 430, although it looks like the 430. This is a Macintosh LC2, and let me pan down just a little bit there. There we go. And so this LC2, used to have a hard drive in it. So this is an old Quantum SCSI 120 meg hard drive. And I mean, these are old drives, and nothing lasts forever, as we were talking about before. And the hard drive is usually the first thing to go. Surprisingly, this old 40 meg drive, which is still attached to the disk drive from a Mac Classic, this actually still works. But this 120 meg drive from the Performa does not. So one way to actually get these machines to boot up again is with an adapter called a SCSI 2 SD adapter. That's the number 2 there. And I'll zoom in a little bit to show you what that looks like. And so this is a hard drive right here, and here's the SCSI 2 SD adapter. And what's pretty neat about this is on most models, you don't even need a power cable. You just need a SCSI cable. And this interface board connects to a little SD card. And the whole operating system and all your files and everything are loaded right from this disk. So it's cool. Secure digital disk right here. So I'm using just one of these freebie cards they used to actually give you with cameras. So this is a 0.5 gigabyte card. I have some 32 meg cards and stuff. So I finally have a reason to use them. I don't think it's going to be blazing fast compared to some of the newer cards, but
compared to that hard drive, it will be.
Well, actually, it's going to be interesting. I want to do some tests, but I'm going to boot this up here, and you'll just see how things work.
Cool. So while that thing is booting up, are you going to make the SD card accessible from the front so you can just swap out different operating systems and stuff?
There are 3D printed things that you could do that. I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon, just because I'm still playing around with it, but that'd be fun to do.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, just to let you know, too, is I just got a hold of 2 SD to IDE cards like that.
Yeah, they work pretty well, too. I played with a compact flash one, and I haven't had any issues with it. I'm still doing a video on the PC compatibility card for the Mac. And so to do that, I wanted to set up a PC and do sort of a comparison there. So I got an IDE to compact flash one. Some of them are more picky than others on some systems, but yeah.
That booted up pretty quick.
Yeah, actually it's not too bad. This is a LC2. It only has 8 megs of RAM, but the nice thing about it is there's no spinning hard drive. This thing is silent, so I unplugged the fan because it's a little noisy here, but it's very eerie actually. Because you guys are probably used to when you boot up an old machine, the hard drive is the loudest thing on there.
Yeah.
I love the sound though.
Yeah, like my Super Mac.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me raise the volume on you guys. Sorry. There we go.
I just had this random thought.
Uh-huh.
By the way, I don't think if we mentioned it, but Michael Stanhope's not in today because he was sick. So we hope you feel better, Mike.
Yes, we do, Mike. Hopefully you're watching.
Yeah, I was going to get to that when the Classic Corner came around. By the way.
Yeah,
I was going to
Mike's
skip the
got
Classic Corner night, but
Yeah, considering Mike's got that prototype G5, I wonder if he could boot off an SD card. That would be pretty neat to try.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, or compact flash micro drive or something.
Yeah, we're going to have.
But he's got the SD reader built into the back of that G5.
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
interesting.
That's why I was wondering if he could do that. Anyway, sorry for interrupting. There.
No. That's all right. That's really a cool thought. So, so I mean, I'm not going to go too far on with this thing, but I just want to show you, some things aren't as quick, but I'm just going to load up a paint program here. This is Easy Color Paint. This will be on Macintosh Garden soon. I actually bought this off eBay.
Ah, you found it. I remember.
Yeah.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Whoa. Are you running 7.1 on that?
Yeah, this is, I think, 7.1. Oops.
Oh my gosh, that thing is flying for 7.1, honestly.
Yeah, so this is 7.1. And let's go back and...
for the people watching, Easy Paint, we were talking about that a few weeks ago. He was looking for it, and we couldn't find it on Macintosh Garden or the repository or anywhere else. We were scouring the web until like 5 a.m., And he finally found it on eBay, and he just like, screw it, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, $10. You know, that's not bad. Let's see how my mouse skills are here. There we go. That's the thumbnail for the video. No.
Beautiful. We got our new logo.
But what's neat about this thing is I have multiple volumes.
Save it.
That's all right. We have it on the video. I can do it again. What's cool is you can have multiple volumes. So I have a files directory here with a bunch of stuff. I have a copy of System 753. I just didn't install it yet. But you could have multiple partitions and everything. And if you have a Mac that I think they removed it in, I think it was Snow Leopard or Lion. If you have a Mac that's old enough to write to an HFS partition disk, you could actually just pop this SD card out, plug it into a modern Mac, drop files on there. You don't have to worry about the resource fork or anything because it's a Mac. And that's what I did. I was just dragging and dropping files from the Mac Mini I had, the G4 Mac Mini running Leopard.
Nice.
And it was so
That's
I
awesome.
just, you know, instead of loading up like Internet Explorer 2 on here with an Ethernet card and slowly downloading files, you know, just drag
It's
and
part
drop.
of the experience, man. Come on.
It is, but this makes it easier. I mean, I'm gonna double click on a 27 megabyte image of a software here, and this is something I'll also be uploading. It's an Apple Campus software set, and it's basically like
Ooh.
a lot of demo software for productivity things. But what's neat is there's an After Dark demo type thing. I think it's a student edition or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And it's like I never saw that before, so I thought that would be neat. I think I actually have it installed here. But
That's cool.
anyway, it just, you know, I could just mount this huge disk on the desktop without a problem. And so, I mean, it's pretty quick. You know, I want to do like a side-by-side test. This is the SCSI 2SD version 5.1. There is a version 6 that's supposedly a little quicker, but on a 16 megahertz machine like this, I don't think, you know, there's no ultra-wide SCSI card or anything in here, so I don't think it's going to be that crazy. But I'm just excited to be able to transfer stuff to this pretty easily. And what's neat is there's a little blinking LED. So when the disk is being accessed, you could see that LED start blinking. And, you know, it's just
nice.
going to be doing its job here. So I could run this program, which is a stack of Laserdisc controlling software, and, you know, play around with some stuff, and it's pretty fun. So I'm you know, it was $60 and it did take a while to get here, but if you are somebody like me who has a lot of these machines laying around, I think it's definitely worth it to you know, invest in one of these adapters.
Cool.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What's the maximum megabytes or maybe even kilobytes per second on the SCSI port?
On this model, I'm not 100% sure. There is a little information on the wiki for the SCSI 2SD adapter of what its maximum output is and stuff. But as far as the internal SCSI connector on the Macintosh, it depends on which model. This is a LC2, so I'm not going to think it's the fastest out there, especially since sometimes they had issues with their boards and ROMs and stuff where things would be a little slow.
Yeah, because when you pulled up one of the volumes, I could see it building the file list. Like, is that the system or the SD cards?
I think that's the system, because actually here, I'll if you allow me a minute here, I'm going to boot this thing up using an old hard drive here. Sorry. There we go. And you'll see how loud this drive is. Which the answer is, where did I put the power cord for? Uh-oh. Oh, if I lost the power cord, then we can't do it, but let me try.
You usually need a power cord for stuff to work.
Yeah. It's spoiled with the SCSI 2SD, and I think I hid the power cord behind one of these boxes here. Yeah. Oh well, never mind.
Well, we'll see you later.
Yeah, I'll do some speed tests in the video, and won't keep you guys too long. But yeah, that's that. And just because our other friend is not here, I know he has 6100 to talk about, or a Performa or something that he wanted to talk about. Do you remember the model?
The Power Mac 6100.
Yeah, we were going to save it for. I was going to just save it for next week for him. Oh, well, not actually. No. Well, we won't be here next week, but I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Well, we might. It just might be 2 people.
Well, anyway, I just
We'll
want to. I would love to do a speed test with him because I have one that has a G3 card in it. So it's cheating, I know, but yeah, thanks, guys. And if you want, that video should be up on the YouTube channel in a few days. So just check out Mac84 on YouTube, and you could find all sorts of goodies. And hope to have a lot of stuff up there real soon, actually.
Yeah, and we have your link down in the description and stuff anyway. So they won't have to look very far.
I'll make it even easier. Boom.
Problem solved.
Yep.
All right. And Mr. Thompson, what about you?
I don't have a lot going on right now. I am starting to learn a little bit more about video editing using Final Cut Pro. It's actually becoming pretty easy, believe it or not. I'm learning a lot about it. I do a lot of simulated racing on iRacing.com, and what I do is I record the replays, and then later on what I do is I rerun those replays as you're looking outside different camera views and stuff like that, like you're looking at an actual race. And so what I've been doing lately is been putting those videos together using Final Cut Pro and putting them on my YouTube channel, which I will put a link to in the description as well. But I've been having fun doing that. It's a lot of time-consuming effort. Now I know what Greg does he's doing his editing and stuff, so it's but it's something I've been getting into lately. And I'll probably be making my wife a trailer video for her business that she's doing. So I actually made the trailer video that you guys see now when we start up the Mac Yak channel. So hopefully you guys like that. So
I dig it.
Yeah, but we need to choose better pictures in the future.
Well, you guys need to send me better pictures, because otherwise I use Facebook pictures, and some of you guys' Facebook pictures, especially Jay, he has one.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't trust Facebook. Nothing personal on my profile.
And then Greg, he has a lot where he's like about 10 years old or whatnot, so.
Hey.
No, that's just him when he shaves.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I look a lot younger when I shave.
Yeah, see, and Rocky doesn't have many on his either, so.
Nope.
Yep. So therefore, that's the reason why I got what I got, because I was trying to do some screen grabs off of Mac Yak, and those are hard to get sometimes. So.
Yeah. We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do need some pictures from you guys.
Alrighty.
And for all the websites and stuff that we talked about in the last half hour, come back after the video processes. We'll put links and all that stuff in the description.
Yep.
And
It'll all be in the description.
Also join our Discord server, because, why not? And I'm sorry, Greg, were you done?
No, I'm done. Yeah, no.
Okay. I want to give a shout out to David Weidman. He couldn't be here tonight. He had something else to do. But he's a fan of the channel, and he sent me a little sample of something. I don't know if you can see that on the stream now.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
we're all jealous of that.
By the way, Jay, half of your G4 cubes from him too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. But he sent me this cap, seeing if we liked it, and now we can start putting mass orders in. I think his wife makes them, so once we get some interest going, then he can tell us how much they're going to be, and we can start sending them out.
Yeah, and he can start making these too.
You already got one.
What are you talking about?
I feel like I'm behind. I don't have a hat with my channel on it yet.
That reminds me, Greg, I'm still waiting on some stickers here, dude.
Yeah, I know. We were all supposed to get a sticker, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
these?
Yeah, those.
I
Limited
almost thought
supply.
of them now.
He's
And,
probably already used them all.
I need to order more.
James in the channel said one of those old Quantum hard drives. Those are noisy.
Yeah.
And I have a fun story to share real quick. It was about a week ago. I already had a cold, and I don't know if you can see this disaster here, but I still have a cold. And I got a whole bunch of, included with the last haul that I did was a whole stack of old IDE drives. So I've been hooking those up to a USB adapter, and every night I zero them out, see if there's any bad sectors and all that. Anyway, that night I hooked up an old 20 gigabyte Maxter hard drive, and it's sitting here on my desk, and it starts spinning, and Tech Tool Pro is doing his thing, wiping the drive, and I wake up 2 hours later. I fell asleep on my desk because that sound was the exact same sound. I had that same hard drive in my G3 blue and white growing up in my room, so that sound just instantly put me to sleep.
Yeah, I've got one of those drives sitting in my blue and white. I know that sound well.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to share real quick.
Those drives are those are quite noisy.
I love that sound. When I switched away from, I had a G3 blue and white, then I had a G4, and from a G4 I went to my first MacBook Pro, and then my room was so quiet I couldn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling. I had to turn on my G4 before I went to bed every night, just so I would have some ambient noise going on. That lasted for about 4 or 5 months. Wait, photo shoot? What are we doing with
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. I'm like,
I'll hold a classic Mac in my hand and just smile.
Yeah. Well, give me about a year to hit those resistance bands, and I'll do something shirtless.
I'll just
I
wear
don't
Jay's
think none
shirt on
us
top
wanna
of
see
mine.
you shirtless there, Jay. Except for maybe your wife, but
Yeah. Oh, you want to see it. Do we have any questions from our audience tonight? Let's give them a second for the stream to catch up.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit better stream now. YouTube actually gave us some more. What?
Yeah, it upped the delay by itself.
Yeah, I had to just refresh it, then it was fine.
Yeah. Oh, we got Ken on Discord.
Somebody beat me to it.
Yeah, I let Ken. I sent Ken an invite a while back. He just joined.
Cool.
Awesome.
To chat up with him and
By
Yeah,
the
it should be
way,
fun.
good reason to join Discord. We love to have ideas for our next MacYak chat.
Yes, please. We need ideas.
Hey, Colin Mister just joined in. Hi, Colin.
And he's
You
late.
literally caught the end of the stream. Good job, man.
better late than never.
Yeah,
Colin might be back on the stream at some point.
Definitely.
But we'll always
We
see
hope
is
to have
this, right?
we hope to have Michael Manna back at some point too. We love his input, and we'll have more guests as time goes on.
Oh,
Yes, we're trying to get more guests. Hell, we'd like to get Tim Cook on here so we could ask him some questions, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think that's going to happen.
He wouldn't give us a second of his time.
No, not with only 12 watching right now. I mean, come on, we need to get some more viewers here, guys. So
Oh, yeah.
tell your friends.
Spread the word.
Spread it, yeah.
Yeah, tweet us, Facebook us, whatever. All that good stuff.
Yeah, we're still new. I mean, this is only our 11th episode, so we're still going to be getting up there. I think we're at 119 subs, or are we a little bit above that now?
Greg,
121.
I'm not gonna let you off the hook. I was going to let you
Oh,
off the hook,
sorry.
but I'm not going to let you off the hook. Tell people what happened right before we started the stream.
Oh, yeah. Right before we started the stream, I had to update my Mac. However, it did update before the stream, and then you guys decided, oh, we're going to go from group FaceTime over to, guess what?
I didn't decide anything.
Well, we were unable to dial in Michael, so we had to.
Mm-hmm.
It was a decision that needed to be made. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our host forgot to update his iMac to do group FaceTime.
But
yeah.
it was up on time. In fact, I had the actual thing going on, but we were waiting to switch over to Skype at the time because we couldn't get group FaceTime. So basically, it was group FaceTime that caused us to be late.
Oh yeah, always blame someone else. Hey Greg, can you put a link in the description for our Discord invite? I don't know how Discord works.
I can do it.
Yeah, make sure it's one of the permanent ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we
thought I
covered
put one
everything
in there
that we
last
wanted to
week.
cover.
I thought I put one in last week in last week's video, so it should still be in there hopefully. But
Let's see here.
Really?
Any other
We're about to
questions,
wrap
guys,
up, and now
before
we've
we
got
wrap
15
this
people
up?
watching? Where you all been?
any questions before we wrap this up, guys?
Well, that's nice. My YouTube signed me out on here. What the heck, YouTube?
I'm telling you, YouTube's acting strange tonight because now all of a sudden the stream health is a little bit better than it was at the beginning.
Well, could we stopped bashing Google, so.
Yeah.
See, right now it's showing me the stream health is green. It's been red the whole time. Now it's green.
Now self-aware.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, everything just sharpened up.
Yeah. Because now the stream health is green.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
I don't
hopefully
know.
next week we'll be back on group FaceTime.
Yep.
YouTube will not give us any issues, and we're going to be back on track. Oh, actually, I say next week, but we might not be here next week because it's
Well,
Two of
Robert,
us will.
I might.
Maybe.
If I can figure out how to stream it, we might do a short episode just to talk about something. We'll see.
on
Mhm.
Thursday.
We'll do a special Valentine's
So,
episode.
If it gets screwed up, then you all can blame Greg H.
The topic will be how to love your Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah, blame this guy
There you
right
go, I like
there. This guy.
that.
You're just
No.
pointing at your own crotch on my screen, so I don't know.
We'll definitely do an announcement if we're doing it or not, probably a few days beforehand.